Hi, Leo, my radiant fire sign. Let me ask you something straight away. What if something you can't see right now is actually guiding you toward the breakthrough you've been waiting for? This video exists for a reason. You're not here by accident. You were drawn here by something bigger than logic. The universe doesn't make mistakes, especially not when it comes to Leo. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, a space where your intuition meets the cosmos, where ancient wisdom merges with the present moment. And right now, Leo, the energy surrounding you is electric. There's a shift in the air. Can you feel it? It's subtle, yes, but undeniable. Like the calm before a glorious storm, or the deep inhale before a powerful roar. Something is stirring, a presence, a push, a path, and it has your name written in stardust. Over the next 72 hours, cosmic forces are aligning in ways that could change everything. Doors you didn't even know existed are about to swing open. Not out of luck, but because you've earned this. You've shown up. You've carried the weight. You've led with your heart, and the universe has noticed. But before we go deeper into the messages coming through for you, I want you to do something brave. Something sacred. Scroll down to the comments and type these 3 words. I am ready. That's it. No explanations needed. Just that, I am ready. Because readiness is an energy. It's a frequency. And when you declare that you're ready to receive, the universe responds. Immediately. Powerfully. And yes, magnificently. Now take a breath. Let that moment settle into your chest. Let it anchor you. Because what you're about to receive in this reading is not surface-level astrology. This isn't a fluffy prediction. It's an invitation to rise. To reclaim your light. To see what's truly been waiting behind the scenes, waiting for you to say, yes. And while you're here, allow me to take a moment and offer my deepest, most heartfelt gratitude. For your presence. For every like, every comment, every new subscriber who joins this sacred space we're building here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your support is the fire that fuels this channel, and it's what allows us to continue bringing you messages that aren't just readings, they're revelations. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to listen. And trust me when I say this, Leo, you will want to stay with me until the very last second of this video. Because what the universe is about to reveal to you is nothing short of breathtaking. Now tell me, what energy, what force, what quiet knowing inside your heart brought you here today? Let's find out together. There are moments when what we feel cannot be named, only sensed. A warmth that appears in the stillness, a subtle presence brushing against the edges of your awareness. It's not the mind playing tricks, nor fantasy seeking comfort. It's a deeper knowing, one that your heart often understands long before your thoughts can catch up. And if you felt it, that quiet support when no one else is around, that inner steadiness that emerges when things should have broken you, then you've already touched the essence of what we're speaking of. Leo, your soul has always had a rhythm of its own, a brightness that echoes long after you leave a room. But even the brightest flame casts a shadow. And in those moments when you feel you've reached the edge of your strength, something, or someone, seems to hold you up from falling. This isn't about believing in ghosts or spirits. It's about recognizing the subtle architecture of connection that transcends words. In the quiet layers of existence, the relationships we forge in life can leave impressions so deep that they don't end when someone is no longer physically with us. Love, when sincere, leaves behind a memory of presence that continues to nourish us even in silence. You may have noticed this when you're walking alone and suddenly feel less alone, or when a specific memory returns with vivid clarity and, strangely, comfort. Maybe a song plays at the exact moment you're thinking of someone, or a smell, almost forgotten, wafts into your space and grounds you like an old friend calling your name. These aren't mere coincidences, they're moments of alignment, reflections of a deeper harmony, reminders that you are still held. There is a wisdom that teaches, everything leaves a trace, a seed, a vibration. And when that vibration is created through love, through devotion, it never truly fades. It becomes part of your field, something like an echo that doesn't bounce back but instead stays with you, evolves with you. The ones who once walked beside you in life and gave you their whole hearts may no longer speak your name aloud, but they're still speaking, in the language of compassion, memory, and instinct. The purpose of understanding this isn't to dwell in the past, but to realize the quiet strength that still surrounds you. Just as a tree grows deeper roots after a storm, you, too, have grown resilience shaped by unseen hands, helped by invisible forces you didn't even know were there. That strength you've shown, Leo, especially in your most private, uncelebrated moments, it hasn't gone unnoticed. We often think of protection as something external, something dramatic or obvious. But real protection is subtle. It's the urge to pause when you're about to rush into something. It's the inner voice that says, wait, when everything is telling you to go. It's the soft but undeniable tug toward the path that feels unfamiliar yet deeply right. And sometimes, that protection shows up as a dream that stays with you for days, or a message you didn't realize you needed until you heard it. What you're feeling now, Leo, is not a coincidence. It's not loneliness either. It's the growing awareness of a quiet companionship that doesn't demand your attention but always offers its support. You were never meant to carry your fire alone. And in moments like these, when you begin to remember that, your light doesn't just return, it deepens, it expands, and it steadies not only you, but those around you. Stay with that awareness. Let it settle gently. Because what follows this realization is not just comfort, but clarity, and with it, a new path forward, lit not only by your own courage but by the accumulated grace of every being who ever loved you with an open heart. Sometimes, what appears as sudden fortune is actually the quiet unfolding of seeds planted long ago, thoughts nurtured in silence, choices made when no one was watching, and small, persistent acts of faith in moments when everything seemed uncertain. This is where Leo now stands, on the edge of a new cycle, not gifted, but earned. The movement in your career, your finances, your purpose, it isn't random. It's the reflection of energy you've already released into the world, now circling back with form and substance. Leo, as a fire sign ruled by the sun, your natural expression is radiant and outward-facing. You lead, you inspire, you initiate. And yet, even you know that real creation doesn't begin in the spotlight. It starts beneath the surface, in discipline, in the clarity of vision, and in the quiet moments where belief is tested. Financial abundance, in its highest form, is not just about numbers or recognition. It's the energetic result of alignment. When your intention, your action, and your deeper purpose flow together without resistance, success becomes a natural response rather than a prize to chase. There is a principle that reminds us, if you plant orange seeds, you don't get apples. What you sow, consciously or not, will shape your harvest. For you, this moment may seem like a reward, but on a deeper level, it is a reflection. The opportunities now are rising, whether it's a job offer that feels like a dream, an unexpected invitation, or an idea that suddenly gains traction, are mirrors of the work you've done on yourself. Your willingness to show up, to stay focused, and to hold your vision even when results were invisible, that's what created the shift you're now beginning to feel. The cards are not just pointing to prosperity, they're pointing to maturity. You are no longer pursuing success just for self-validation, but as a means of expression, a way to contribute, uplift, and expand. That shift in perspective is powerful. It transforms money from a goal into a tool. And tools, when placed in the hands of someone with purpose, become instruments of change, not just for the self, but for the world around them. In moments like this, it's important to remain both open and grounded. To recognize that abundance flows most freely not when we grasp tightly, but when we move with integrity and intention. There's a kind of generosity in letting go of control while still showing up with excellence. That's the sweet spot you're being invited into, a place where effort is sacred, but outcomes are not forced. Where joy is part of the process, not just the end result. Many teachings speak of non-attachment, not as indifference, but as clarity. When you act from your center and release the need to control the result, you make space for life to surprise you. You allow the universe to do what it does best, orchestrate something far greater than you could have imagined from a place of worry or scarcity. And that is what this moment holds for you, Leo, a chance to let the fullness of what you've built return to you, not just materially, but in confidence, clarity, and freedom. So as this door opens, and yes, it is opening, walk through it with awareness. Know what you're saying yes to. Know that your success is not just allowed, but needed. And more importantly, know that you're not starting something new, you're continuing something ancient, the unfolding of your own light, meeting the world exactly where it's ready for you. What often lingers longest in the heart isn't what was said, but what was never spoken. The silence that grew between two souls once so deeply connected can leave a quiet ache, subtle yet persistent, like an unfinished note in a song that meant something once. And for Leo, whose nature is to love with intensity and loyalty, these fractures in once precious relationships can echo louder than most are willing to admit. You are the sign of the heart, after all, ruled by the sun, you give generously, boldly, and often without restraint. But even the brightest light casts a shadow when the emotional exchange becomes imbalanced or unresolved. In this moment, as your chart reflects themes of reconciliation and emotional release, you're being offered something more valuable than clarity, the invitation to heal. This healing isn't about reopening wounds just to revisit pain, nor is it about forcing closure where the other party may not be ready to engage. It's about what happens within you when you finally stop carrying the weight of conversations unspoken, emotions suppressed, or apologies withheld, whether you were the one who needed to say them or receive them. There is a quiet wisdom in understanding that relationships, like everything else in life, are impermanent. They grow, transform, and sometimes fall away, not necessarily because they were wrong, but because they served a purpose that has now shifted. When we hold on too tightly to the version of someone we knew, we freeze both them and ourselves in time. But real love, and real freedom, arises when we can honor what was, without clinging to what can no longer be. There's a difference between remembering with reverence and remaining in a loop of emotional replay. What you're being asked to do now is step out of that loop, not to forget, but to integrate. Many teachings speak of the power of compassion as a way to dissolve resentment, not because others always deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. The moment you realize that you can choose to release the story you've been holding, the one where you were hurt, abandoned, misunderstood, you create the space for a new story to emerge. This isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about letting the pain transform instead of define you. Think of it like this: if the heart were a flame, every unhealed wound becomes a veil of smoke. And though your light still shines, it doesn't reach as far, nor burn as steady. But the moment you speak, even silently, even just to yourself, what needed to be said all along, the smoke clears. One sentence like, "I understand now," or "I forgive you, even if you never asked me to," can become the breath that restores clarity. And when the heart becomes clear again, it no longer waits for validation, reconciliation, or even the presence of the other. It becomes free. Sometimes healing a relationship doesn't require both parties to return. It only needs one to release the tension, not through confrontation, but through inner resolution. You may find that the person you've been needing to forgive isn't even someone else. It may be a past version of yourself, the one who didn't speak up, who tolerated too much, who loved beyond their limits hoping it would be enough. Letting go of guilt, too, is part of the journey. And in doing so, you become more available for the relationships that do align, the ones that are waiting to enter the clear space you've created. This is your heart's time to stretch and breathe again, not as a reaction to someone else's change, but as a decision born from your own quiet strength. The freedom you seek is already inside you. All that's left is to let go of what no longer needs to be carried. There's a certain kind of strength that often goes unnoticed, the strength of always holding things together, of being the dependable one, the leader, the protector. For someone like Leo, whose nature shines so brightly and whose role so often becomes that of the pillar in others' lives, asking for help can feel unfamiliar, even unnatural. But sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is admit that we, too, need support. Not because we are weak, but because we are human, and no flame, no matter how radiant, can burn forever without pause. Right now, the energy around you speaks of gentle balance returning, a quiet shift toward reciprocity. In numerology, the activation of the number 2 invites harmony, mutual understanding, and the beauty of shared space. It's a reminder that you were never meant to carry everything alone. The idea that one must be entirely self-sufficient is a common narrative in this world, but in truth, wholeness is rarely a solo journey. Just as day cannot exist without night, your fire needs moments of stillness, and your willpower needs a place to rest. What makes this moment so important isn't just that someone may be offering their presence, it's that you're being called to recognize it. To actually see the people who have been quietly loving you in the background, even when you were too overwhelmed to notice. Their love isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention or insist on being acknowledged. It simply stays. It checks in. It waits patiently. And now, the invitation is for you to lean in, just a little, and allow yourself to receive what you so often give. There's a gentle teaching that speaks of emptiness not as lack, but as space. The space to receive, the space to breathe. When we're always full of responsibility, of worry, of silent burdens, there's no room for grace to enter. But the moment you exhale, the moment you say even softly, "I'm not okay, and I'm tired," something shifts. That space opens. And suddenly, support can find its way to you, whether in the form of a conversation, an unexpected gesture, or simply the relief of not hiding anymore. You don't need to break down to ask for help. You don't need to fall apart to be held. It's enough to speak truthfully, even if that truth is a whisper. In fact, some of the most healing conversations begin with just one sentence: "I'm not sure what I need, but I know I can't carry this alone anymore." That alone can change the energy between you and the people who love you. That alone can begin the process of allowing instead of enduring. The truth is, Leo, even the sun rests. Even the strongest beings need moments of softness. And if you allow yourself to be witness not only in your greatness but in your vulnerability, you create a deeper connection, one not built on admiration, but on understanding. You don't lose your power when you let others in. You expand it. Because when support becomes shared, and when the giving flows both ways, your light becomes more sustainable. And that's what this chapter of your journey is really about, not just being seen, but being met, exactly where you are, by someone who truly wants to walk beside you. Change rarely arrives with a trumpet. It often whispers before it roars. And sometimes, it begins not with an event, but with a quiet sense inside, the feeling that you are no longer where you were, even if nothing outside of you has visibly shifted yet. That's the space Leo stands in now, the threshold. Not of an ending, but of an emergence. When the sun and the star appear together, they don't offer gentle encouragement, they present a bold, undeniable signal that the universe is reflecting back to you the radiance you've been cultivating all along. This moment is not just about external opportunities, though they may absolutely appear. It's about inner alignment. A recalibration of your relationship with your own power. You are not being asked to hustle or push harder. You are being invited to remember who you were before the world asked you to become smaller to fit inside someone else's idea of who you should be. That memory, buried under layers of duty, disappointment, and survival, is reawakening now. Not for nostalgia, but for rebirth. The idea that transformation begins with clarity is often misunderstood. Clarity doesn't always come in the form of a detailed plan. Sometimes it comes as a release. A deep knowing that this no longer feels right, and that alone is enough reason to let go. From the perspective of ancient wisdom, everything arises and passes away in perfect rhythm, not because we force it, but because we are finally quiet enough to listen to that rhythm and trust it. The more we resist change, the more we suffer. But the moment we surrender, truly surrender, the struggle turns into flow. In astrology, Leo rules the heart, the center of life. And when your heart says, "It's time," it's not speaking in metaphors. It's inviting you to act, to realign your external world with your internal truth. Whether that means choosing a different career path, stepping away from an emotionally draining relationship, or finally giving voice to a long-silenced dream, the action is secondary to the shift that precedes it. The decision to honor what feels true, that is where real change begins. You may feel a surge of inspiration, a sense of purpose igniting in your chest, or maybe it comes more subtly, like a clear thought that won't go away, a name that keeps showing up, a vision that keeps pulling at the edge of your imagination. These signs don't come to tease you, they come to guide you. The universe doesn't send dreams without also sending the energy to pursue them. But that energy can only be received when we release what's no longer ours to carry. Let this be the moment where you consciously close a chapter, not with bitterness, but with reverence. Nothing is ever wasted. Even the detours taught you something vital. Even the delays sharpened your focus. So when you write, "I release the old with gratitude," you're not dismissing your past, you're completing it. And when you follow with, "I'm ready to live the life that's truly mine," you're not asking for permission. You're stating a truth that has always been waiting to be remembered. Not every step ahead will be mapped. But every step you take in the direction of your truth becomes part of the map itself. Your courage to begin again is not only a gift to yourself, it becomes a light for others, a signal that change is not only possible, but sacred. So let the new begin, not because you're running away from the old, but because you're finally ready to meet the fullness of who you are, and who you've always been meant to become. As we come to the end of this journey together, take a quiet moment to simply breathe. Let everything you've heard settle gently into your awareness, like the final note of a beautiful melody that continues to echo in the space around you. You haven't just watched a video, you've been part of an awakening. And maybe, just maybe, you've started remembering something your soul has always known, that you are not waiting for destiny, you are it. Leo, your path has never been about playing small. You were not born to shrink, to apologize for your brightness, or to rely on someone else to rescue you. You were born to lead with your heart, to shine without hesitation, and to choose your direction with conviction. The universe may offer signs, but it's your action that transforms possibilities into realities. Tarot can whisper truths. Astrology can show you the map. But only you can decide to walk the path. Only you can choose to rise. So now, I invite you to gently ask yourself, what part of me am I finally ready to honor? What truth within me has been waiting for permission to breathe? Is there a part of your life that's been calling for change, and are you willing to answer that call today, not tomorrow, not when it's easier, but now? You don't need to know all the answers. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You just need to start with presence, with clarity, and most importantly, with trust in yourself. That trust is the first step toward building a life aligned not with expectations, but with essence. And isn't that the life you truly deserve? Let this be your turning point. Not because someone told you it should be, but because you feel it in your chest, that quiet knowing that you're meant for something deeper, something bolder, something real. You are not the same person you were when you first pressed play on this video. You're already changing, and that change deserves to be honored with action. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Say it with certainty. I am the light. I am the author of my story. And let that truth ripple through everything you do from this moment forward. I want to take a moment to thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for spending your precious time here. Every like, every comment, every share and subscription, they're not just numbers. They're energy. They're the heartbeat of the eternal mindfulness community. And your presence is what allows us to continue creating these transformative spaces for you, and for so many others on similar journeys. So before you go, I want to ask you, genuinely, What part of this message spoke to you the loudest? What insight will you carry with you, and how will you live differently because of it? Leave me a comment below. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just share something real. Maybe it's a thought, a story, a shift, or even a single word, hope. Or simply type, "Sparkles, I'm ready to receive what's meant for me." Sparkles, everything is aligning for my highest good. And if this message stirred something within you, if you felt seen, heard, or reminded of who you truly are, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this light too. You never know the ripple effect your energy might spark in someone else's life. Thank you for being here, for being you, and for choosing to walk this path, not in fear, but in truth. You are the light, Leo. And the world is ready for your next chapter.